Looking back through the ages, we see the English inn was as important to English village life as the church and the school. The story of the English inn is the story of England. So closely is the inn woven with the daily life of the Englishman of every degree and with the gradual development of the land. The inn serves us all, no matter our rank, and at all times it reflects our habits and our fashions. Oliver Goldsmith wrote of the inn that it is a place where village statesmen talked with looks profound, and news much older than their ale went round. Roads play an important part in the development of a nation, and we can assume that when the first roads were cut through Britain, the first inn was born. Once the roads were made, the face of England began to stir with life, throbbing with the movements of pilgrims, merchants, and warriors. At the English inn today, there is a hospitality that to the landlord is as much a sacred charge as it was to the monks and barons in the Middle Ages, who first gave bread and ale to travelers. In out-of-the-way places, the monastery was often the only sanctuary open to pilgrims and other wayfarers. Gradually, these houses became separate establishments and were eventually run as inns under such signs as the Pilgrim's Inn. Another with monastic origin is the bull, which gets its name from the papal bull or bill, not the animal. The inn has preserved much of England's architecture. Like the church, it was a sanctuary, hence most of the carvings have a religious significance. Following closely behind the monastic inn come the royal inns, which were used by the king's servants when traveling in the Middle Ages. A house was selected in the village for their accommodation under such signs as the Crown and the King's Head. The inn yard was used by the postboy as a link between villages and hamlets, and later by the mail coach. By the beginning of the 19th century, coach travel was popular and the tavern became a coaching station. Many possessed fine timbered galleries. As one can imagine, coach travel was not without its hazards, the most feared being the highwayman demanding your money or your life. His was indeed a profitable, though not infrequently a dangerous pursuit. His life exciting, but often too short. The notorious Dick Turpin was said to have frequented the Spaniards Inn at Hampstead, which is still standing even to this day. To Dick Turpin, the inside would have appeared like this. Among the historic inns, we must not forget the oldest inhabited inn, the Fighting Cocks at St. Albans. This curious octagonal building is of very great age, for it was once St. German's Gate, the water gate of the monastery. The more ancient upper part disappeared 600 years ago, and the present brick and timbered story takes its place. Leaving England's oldest inn, we visit taverns which Charles Dickens has made famous. The Leather Bottle Inn bears not only a picture of Mr. Pickwick, but also the leather bottle itself as its inn sign. Above the doorway is a plaque of Charles Dickens, which serves to all who enter as a permanent reminder of this great author. A few miles away on the lonely marsh country near Gravesend, we find the Ship and Lobster Inn. It was here that Charles Dickens, in his book Great Expectations, described Pip's unsuccessful attempt to smuggle the convict Magwitch. Moving further up the river, we find at Limehouse a quaint riverside tavern known as the Grapes. Here, a flight of steps rises from the foreshore to a wooden veranda, which in turn leads into a cabin-like room. Inside are gathered men from the river, whose endless tales of the sea will always be told. Dickens describes the inn as a jumble of corpulent windows heaped one upon the other. Returning to the village, we find the inn hidden, as it has been for ages, among the cottages. We like to think of it in this way, with its cosy bar and its old oak beams always waiting to greet us during our travels. The railway brought speed to industrial England. Railways, as well as roads, linked the large towns, and travellers were able to go greater distances in the same time. But their need for rest and refreshment was just as great. To fill this need, the railway tavern was established, but unfortunately little attention was paid to its appearance. On the banks of rivers and canals, our oldest transport routes, we find the inn often quaint and picturesque. The cargoes which float by have changed with the centuries, and sail has given way to steam and the petrol engine. The inn signs started in the days when few people could read and shopkeepers displayed a symbol of the goods they had for sale. They reflect a great deal of our history and show not only rulers and statesmen, but heroes and sportsmen. Some are humorous, such as the load of mischief, a dig at the nagging wife. The volunteer, from the days when warfare was more casual. The White Hart, the crest of King Richard II. St. George fighting the dragon. And, on the other side, St. George refreshing himself afterwards. The Six Bells, with its double meaning. The running footman, a relic from the days of coaches and noblemen. And finally, the airman, to bring our inn signs right up to date. Walk through any village, and you will find the inn at the center of its life. On a summer day when the sun warms the earth, they sit outside and discuss business, the weather, their children's health, and home affairs. In the depth of winter, they meet in comradeship and comfort by a log fire. And for the traveller, there is rest and refreshment always to be found at the inns of Old England.